Welcome to Food and Facilities, an online show for West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine. Our goal is to cultivate knowledge to feed the world by focusing our quarterly trade issues on safety, compliance, and innovation within manufacturing, agriculture, food processing, and food and beverage industries. In this episode, we will be discussing proactive workplace safety with James Beretti of Beretti Inc., resources for manufacturers with Craig Sharton of CMTC Solutions, and gratitude and productivity with Lisa Ryan of Grategy. Welcome to Food and Facilities. I'm Tara Sweeney, the Marketing Director of West Coast Industrial Solutions magazine, and today we'll be discussing proactive workplace safety with James Beretti of Beretti Inc., resources for manufacturers with CMTC Solutions' Craig Sharton, and gratitude and productivity with Grategy by Lisa Ryan. Make sure to subscribe at wcismag.com/subscribe for all safety and compliance news for manufacturing, food and beverage, food processing, and agriculture. My final guest this morning is Lisa Ryan of Grategy. She's a Chief Appreciation Strategist. You can reach her at 216-359-1134. And Lisa?
Hey, it's good to be here.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am just peachy, thanks. How about you?
I'm great. Can you give us a little background on yourself and Grategy?
Sure. Yeah, I have been this is my 10-year anniversary of having Grategy. I work specifically with manufacturing associations and their members to help them keep their top talent from becoming someone else's, and do that basically through speaking, training, and consulting. So it's been an interesting year now that everything has gone virtual. But I just had a pretty cool experience of being able to present this week as an avatar. And actually, unfortunately, my avatar could dance a little bit better than I can. So it's very fun.
Now, Grategy stands for Gratitude Strategy. What is one of the main retention issues you're seeing in the times of COVID?
You know, there's a lot that goes on with that throughout the year, but particularly with COVID, because there's so many more issues involved now. Now we not only have employees showing up at the plant if they're there, but we have more remote employees, and now employees have issues with, childcare, and are their kids going to school this week, or are they hybrid, and, are they worried about their parents who are in assisted living and they can't see them? They have all of these other issues. So if it's really only about the work, hey, why didn't you get your job done? Hey, how's it going on the job? We really need to reach out in a different capacity now. How are you doing through all of this? And really expressing appreciation for the efforts that employees are making, because whatever, you're really setting a precedent right now for once we get to that magical time, that I like to refer to as post-COVID, those two magical words. I can't wait until it shows up like that. But employees are going to decide, am I going to stay with this company or not? Did my boss reach out to me? Did they seem like they cared about me as a person, or were they just on me all the time because it was only about the business and only about making a profit and all of that? So really staying connected, communicating regularly, saying thank you, appreciating employees, letting them know the things that they're doing well, instead of just harping on all the things that maybe aren't going that well.
And especially now when there's lower employment in manufacturing, it's important to retain your skilled labor force.
Well, and especially if you look at the numbers are scary. They're talking as many as 2.4 million jobs going unfilled by the year 2028. So not only do we need to change the conversation when it comes to manufacturing to encourage students to go into trade and technical schools, as businesses to partner with local trade and technical schools, because you can actually special order basically the students that you want by working with your local community colleges and putting those plans in place. But now more than ever, when you have good employees, you need to figure out how to keep them, because they are not plentiful. And there's going to be a lot of businesses that aren't going to be able to, get orders filled because they don't have the manpower to do it.
And it's a social issue where we focus mostly on the college track of education when manufacturing is still such a core part of our economy.
Yeah, and it really, I'm glad you brought that up, because it starts with the guidance counselors. You look at the whole, the scope of the guidance counselor's job, and it's to help that high school kid to figure out what college they're going to go to. Well, guess what? Not every kid is cut out for college, nor should every kid go to college. So why would you encourage somebody to rack up tens of thousands of dollars in student loan debt in something that they're not going to like, or they're not going to be able to get a job in, when you have these kids that are great with their hands, they love technical stuff, they love technology, and as you know, I'm kind of preaching to the choir here, that when you have the technology, the cleanliness, the excitement that is going on in manufacturing today, this is the conversations that we have to have with guidance counselors and parents to let them know that it's okay that your kid is going into manufacturing of the trades, because they're going to have a job where they're going to make a great living, have work-life integration, work-life balance, and have something and do something that they like, and they can support their family without encouraging a ton of debt.
What are some spots that you can see that manufacturing needs to work on most with the gratitude for their workforce?
A lot of times gratitude is considered like soft or fluffy, or why should I thank my employees for doing their job? I mean, isn't that what they get a paycheck for every Friday? And it's not the case. You have to realize that when you appreciate your employees, when you catch them in the act of doing things well, when you build relationships and create that team mentality that people, maybe they don't love what they're doing, 40 hours a week or whatever, but at least they like coming to work. And you're creating that type of culture, because there's nothing soft about gratitude. You're going to have more engaged employees who are going to be more productive, who are going to stay with your company longer, who are going to, be able to, instead of that hamster wheel of constantly hiring, constantly looking for people to fill positions, and then you treat them like crap and they ghost you after lunch. It's just realizing that just by being nice to people and appreciating them, and yes, holding accountable. I'm not saying that, everything has to be, everything you do is so great all the time, because if an employee's messing up, you let them know and you hold them accountable. But erring more on the side of catching them in the act of doing things well and building that workplace culture that feels good to the employees, that's how you're going to keep them.
And you recently hosted a employee retention summit for manufacturers. What was one of the most interesting things you learned when you were there?
It was funny. I had 25 speakers over 3 days in 24 slots. There was one foundry that I had two of their people, one of their sales manager and their human resources manager came on. But without exception, whether it was an economist or plant manager or, a speaker or whatever it was, it all comes down to culture. And that culture starts at the top. If managers or if company owners and leaders are thinking that employee engagement is an HR thing and they're just relegating it to HR, and they are not walking the talk because they don't really truly believe it from the bottom of their heart, then it's not going to work. So it was kind of funny because as many people, like I said, you had 25 people sharing their ideas, their thoughts, their strategies. And it really comes down to what is your workplace culture, and you care enough about your organization, from the top down to create the type of workplace that people want to come to.
What are some simple habits you can suggest that management starts implementing in order to have a better work culture?
Well, if you are a manager or an owner who this is kind of stepping out of your comfort zone and you're not used to it, I would actually start with what I call the apology approach. And that is simply, you know what, guys, I have not been letting you know how much I appreciate you and the job you do, and I am going to make a more of an effort to do so. Now your employees know that there's something behind it, and it's not just something that, oh no, he's never thanked me before, what's he want? And also coming into it, maybe there's a lot of things that you can do. There's lots of areas to focus on, but too many times managers will come back from a conference or a seminar with all of these great ideas that they want to implement right away, and it just becomes one more flavor of the week. And employees don't trust it because management will try it for a couple days or a couple weeks and, oh, that didn't work. And then they go on to the next thing. It's finding that one thing. Maybe your one thing is walking through the plant and acknowledging employees by name and saying, hey, Tara, how you doing today? Because if I come up to you in the plant, number one, if I'm the owner and I say, hey, Tara, how you doing? You're going to be like, oh, my goodness, she knows my name. So there's that connection, and she cares enough to say hello to me. And from my standpoint, I can say, when I say, hey, Tara, I can judge from your response, is Tara having a good day? Is she normally a happy employee, but there's something off today? And now I know that, and I can say, hey, Tara, what's going on with you? It doesn't seem, is there's something I can help with, or because that way you are connecting, wow, she really does care about me. And now you're going to want to work harder for me because you feel connected. So it's as little as, saying good morning, saying thanks for coming in, and being specific. Tara, I really appreciate the fact that you, stayed over 45 minutes yesterday to help us get that order out. I know you had other plans. It means a lot. And, just thanks for doing that. Because otherwise, you blow off your plans to stay at work 45 minutes extra, and I never even acknowledge you because I'm like, well, she's getting time and a half for it. Why do I have to thank her for it? Next time I ask you, you're going to say, what, I got plans. I can't do it. So it keeps coming back to being specific, being sincere, being intentional in catching employees doing things well.
And like you said, it not only makes sure you retain your employees, but it also improves their productivity.
Absolutely. You think about it, if employees really like what they do, they respect you as a person, they feel that they are contributing to a greater mission in the organization that they're working for, they are going to work harder. But if it's just that it's just a job that pays the bills and they really have no loyalty, number one, they're not going to give their best effort. They're going to do basically just enough work so that they don't get fired. And then the next time some other company comes in the area and offers them 50 cents more an hour, guess what? They're gone.
And what are some things you're seeing in the manufacturing industry in the next 5 years?
Technology is a huge part of it, and there's a part of us that say, well, we're not going to need as many employees because we're going to have a lot more automation. Well, you may not need as many employees to do the grinding work, the repetitive work, because that can be easily outsourced, and now you're making the plants a safer place. But you're still going to need people who are who are programming the equipment, who are running the machines, who are keeping an eye on things. You're going to need maintenance. You're going to need welders. You're going to need all of these positions no matter what the plant of the future looks like. But I remember when I was in the welding industry, back in the late 90s, and it was really everything your mother ever warned you about. It was dirty, it was stinky, it was, people had the maintenance guys who I called on had inappropriate posters and calendars all over their walls. Now, I go on plant tours and it's bright and shiny and clean, and the technology and the robots and everything that you see is, again, it goes back to changing the conversation and letting people know that this is not, of the old days. But, you look at students that are training for jobs now that don't exist yet. And so being open and conveying these exciting possibilities that are opening up every single day in manufacturing. And that's how we start to really attract the people that we want who are going to stay with us for the long term.
What are some things you wish more people knew about the manufacturing industry?
I really wish that they knew that it was a good, solid career path. I know back in the day when I was in school, and I actually took wood shop and metal shop because I liked it and I didn't want to take home ec. But for the most part, back in those days, when you looked at the people in those programs, they were kind of like the troublemakers. They were the bad kids. And I think that parents have that perception that, oh, there's something better about my kid is going to this college or my kid is going to that college. And, getting into the trades or in manufacturing is looking at a second class option. And that is not the case at all. When you're in manufacturing, again, you're not taking home that level of stress and everything that comes sometimes with a more of a white collar type of job when you're working all hours of the days and nights. You have the opportunity to create that work-life balance, to spend more time with your family because, you're working specific hours and then you go home. And it's also realizing that you are such an important part of this country's economy. Manufacturing is still, we're the second largest manufacturer in the world as far as what we produce. And sometimes that knowledge gets away from us where we are, it's an important part of every single thing that we do. And like I said, I can go on and on about changing the conversation, but just be okay. And one of the other things too, one of the people in the summit was working at a foundry. And what they did is they had a meeting, so they closed down the foundry for a day. And while the foundry was closed, they invited the employees to bring their family to work. They literally had a bring your family to work day because otherwise they wouldn't be able to do it. It's not safe when the foundry's running. And so you think that these people, they're not going to have that amount of pride in what they do. And yet as they're walking through the foundry, they're showing their family, they're showing their kids, this is what I do, this is where I work. And there's probably a certain percentage of those children walking through the plant going, wow, this is the coolest thing ever. This is what I want to do. So the other really important thing is to look for ways to expose kids to manufacturing, utilizing things like manufacturing day, have a bring your kid or bring your family to work day so that they can see the operations, because other than coming from you, their chance of being exposed to manufacturing in any other part of their life is really low right now.
One of our efforts that we've been trying to do is connect our local CTE career technical education programs with local manufacturers, because it's very important to show the kids that what they're learning does apply to a lot of very valuable industries.
Yep. Yeah, and like I said, and the thing is that the manufacturers that are going into the schools, well, when they can again, most schools aren't letting them right now, but when they're going in, when they're meeting the kids, when they're building those relationships, when they're sharing what they do, guess who's going to get those kids when they get out of school? you're going to have first dibs basically on that crop of students. Because most of them in the trade or technical school, you know what? They have jobs by the time they leave. So if you're waiting for them to graduate, it's probably too late.
Is there anything else you would like to add or share with our listeners?
You know, it really comes down to the personal relationships that you have with your employees, to, you know, let them know that they are an integral part of your business. And not only are you investing in them with the skills that they need to do their specific job, but investing in them personally, you know, giving them the opportunity to, you know, take business classes, take public speaking classes, take supervisory classes, things that are helping them to grow as a person. Because when you look and consider your employees as a whole person and not just a means to an end of getting your product done and manufactured and out the door, that's how you build the relationships, and that's how you keep your top talent from becoming someone else's.
That's an amazing spot to close. How would people get in contact with you if they'd like to work with you to learn more about gratitude?
Sure, absolutely. My website is LisaRyanSpeaks.com, LisaRyanSpeaks.com. And I'm also extremely active on LinkedIn. So if you are in social media, you know, if you're on social media, there are tons of articles and resources and videos on my LinkedIn profile. Just pop a note in there that you heard me here, and I'm happy to connect.
Thank you, Lisa, and I hope you have a good day.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Our last sponsor for the day is Dynamic Coatings Incorporated. They are a concrete restoration and flooring solution. They offer seamless, antimicrobial, durable, dustproof, and fast cure epoxy sealants for concrete floors. They are USDA, FDA, OSHA, and HACCP compliant. You can reach them at their Sacramento location at 916-485-6800, their Oakland location at 510-352-7000, their Fresno location at 559-225-4605, and their Los Angeles location at 582-634-9887, or reach them at dciflooring.com. And now we will have a moment of silence for our Black Lives Matter community.